and welcome to tonight's Women's Connect live series. No, please do not turn off your TVs. This is not the wrong program or the wrong edition. And no, I am not your host tonight. I'm here basically to do two things. One, to give the backstory to tonight's program. So firstly, when I was growing up as a child, going to church with my grandmother, one of the things that I looked forward to was that weekly meeting of women that we called the Dorcas Club. And it was a time when the women would knit, crochet, sewing. I remember having a dress made for what we used to call the Gleaner Band, which was the children. Used to have a uniform, and I remember that being made by women of the Dorcas Club. So it was a really kind of vibrant club that existed back in the day. So who was Dorcas? Why do we call this club the Dorcas Club? Well, the story of Dorcas is a very inspiring story, and it's actually found in scripture in Acts chapter 9. And Dorcas was a devout Christian woman who made a significant impact on her community by making clothing and donating it to those who were less fortunate and who didn't have much money. She would make clothing for such individuals. And her life of service to others, especially the poor, is one to be both celebrated but I also feel emulated. So, my second reason for being here tonight is basically to introduce our hosts this evening. They are two very confident and very intellectual young ladies who will be leading tonight on a subject which is totally unfamiliar to them. So, you know, the Dorcas Club was, as I said, something that existed when I was a child, and it's certainly something that they are not familiar with. However, as a team, we kind of are really into the idea of bringing on the next generation, and really we want to kind of thrust them into the forefront, and these two young ladies are going to be shaping tonight's conversation that we're going to have around about Dorcas Club. So those two ladies are no other than Zara Henry and Teresa Merchant. So I'm going to hand over to you young ladies and just take it away, make it yours, and may God bless you as you do so.
Thank you so much, Sister Maureen. Thank you for laying the foundation about what tonight is all about. So my name is Zara Henry. I am 15 years old and I attend COGOP Small Heath. I'm honoured to attend COGOP Small Heath. And I'm really excited about tonight, but I'm not here alone. As Sister Maureen said, I'm with my co-host Teresa, so I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you, Zara. Good evening, everyone. My name is Teresa Merchant. I am 18 years old. I attend the House of Praise Church, Bristol, Region 3, and I am 18 years old. I have just finished my A-level exams, and a fun fact about me is I love to watch football.
Well, I'm not very much of a football fan, but yeah, I know that is it the Euros that are going on at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to welcome our viewers. We want to welcome you. We know that you guys are tuning in from all over this planet that we call Earth. We also want to give a special welcome to Minister Powell, our First Lady and wife of our presiding bishop, and Minister Joyce Fletcher, our National Women's Ministries Director. I'm now going to hand over to Teresa, who will be giving you guys a little introduction about tonight's theme.
Thank you. So tonight's theme, you're probably wondering what it is. And tonight's theme is Needle, Thread, and the Dorcas Story Fellowship. And to be honest, 2 months ago, I had no idea who Dorcas was. I had no idea that she was a person in the book of Acts until I did my own research and realized that she did play a very prominent role in the book of Acts, chapter 9 specifically. And one thing that I'm excited to look forward to tonight is to know the impact that Dorcas club had upon COGOP, and how it impacted women individually, and how it shaped us today without us even knowing. And with that being said, I'm just going to introduce three lovely women that are on our panelists, and their names are Sister Margaret, Sister Verusha, and Sister Rose. And they will do their own little introduction and tell you more about what they have to offer for tonight. So if you would like to take it away first, take it away, Sister Rose.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rose Sinclair. I don't know if can everybody hear me. My name is Rose Sinclair. I'm a lecturer in design at Goldsmiths, University of London, and I'm also a researcher. And I have been for the last 15 years or so researching Dorcas in all her forms. So from when she began in the Bible, all to when she became the person that she is, and how she impacted on the church. But also I have this love of textiles, and that's one of the reasons why I've been researching Dorcas. But also, I'm interested to learn why the Dorcas Club specifically had such an impact on Black women's lives, especially in the church and the networks that it formed. And as a result of that, this year, I was awarded an MBE for the research that I've done on Black women and crafting, and the way that that has impacted on what we call the Windrush generation. Over to you, Margaret.
Hello, I'm Margaret Richards. I'm a retired health visitor, and I'm also a member of COGOP at Small Heath. In March of this year, I celebrated my 70th birthday. And two things of interest is that back in the 1970s, Rose, that's on our panel this evening, and I were members of the church at Chapel Street, and also members of the Dorcas Club. In the late 1970s, specifically 1978, I was the youngest appointed women's missionary band leader, now known as Women's Ministries, at the age of 24. And here we are, Rose and I on this platform this evening to talk about Dorcas. With regards to what I hope to contribute this evening, I'm hoping to be able to share some of my experiences as a member of the Dorcas Club and also a leader of Dorcas Club. Over to you, Verusha.
Hi, my name is Verusha. I'm a seamstress and designer from Milton Keynes, and I attend House of Living Waters Ministries. I'm just looking forward, I guess, to learn, to discuss about Dorcas, and to, I guess, come away knowing what everybody thinks and what everybody would like to see as a future for Dorcas clubs.
Thank you so much for your introductions. We look forward to hearing more from you all later. So at this time, we're going to go into a time of worship, and the songs that will be played are Press Along Saints, Press Along, and I Know Where I'm Going. So if you recognize these songs, you know that they're good songs that you need to get your tambourine out for. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to get your tambourines out, and our National Convocation Worship team is going to lead us into that song.
We're gonna continue to press. Come on, pressing on it. Oh yes, we need to pressing on. Oh yeah.
Yes, that really was a
Amen.
trip down. That really was a trip down to memory lane, a golden oldie, as some would say. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope you did too. Let's see your comments in the chat, please. I want to see if you were pressing your way, pressing on. As the song says, press along, saints, press along. Personally, one of my favorite songs, I must say. Um, what about you, Zara? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that song. I'm on my way to glory. I mean, some of these songs that we hear, they get, you know, when you're feeling down or when you're not, you've had a horrible day, but you just play one of those songs and you just say, yeah, that's put me in the right
Yeah,
mood. Or just a promise to say, I am on my way to glory.
yeah, it really is true. It uplifts your spirits, I have to say. So again, please don't forget to drop your comments. We want to know what you guys are saying. And now we're going to move on to our time of discussion where Zara and I are going to ask our panelists a good amount of questions, and they come under three headings. And those headings are looking back, changing times, and looking into the future. And I feel like these are very important headings because although it's good to look at the past and look at the present and also look into the future, I think these questions will really give us a feel of all three events. So with that being said, my first question is to Sister Rose and Sister Margaret. As a young person who knows nothing about the Dorcas Club, what exactly was it? And what sorts of things did you guys do?
Okay, the Dorcas Club. Well, from the research that I know, and then from being a child and talking to my mum and my mother-in-law, so the Sister Hamilton and Sister Sinclair, the Dorcas Club was a space where women could come and make. So it was they could it was showing off their skills or their crafts, and it was showing off their gifts. So many women who felt that they couldn't preach, or maybe weren't good singers, or maybe weren't um, able to do certain other things in the church, but they had this gift of either sewing or baking or whatever. They would come together in what was called the Dorcas Club, which was a subsidiary of the WMB, so the Women's Missionary Band, and it was a place where women could come and meet, and they would share their skill. And then every 4 weeks, if Margaret can correct me if I'm wrong, every 4 weeks women would get together and they would take over church for the day. And at this event, they would actually put up all the things that they'd made, the food, whatever, and they put it up for sale. And it would go to the highest bid, and that money that would be raised would then go to mission. And it was always a day. I always found it a day of joy. It was this thing of the women showing what their gifts were made of. And my mum, the late Sister Hamilton, always said that it was her way of gifting back to God, that this gift that she had of sewing was a way of gifting back to God. And I always see that the Dorcas Club was a space for women, for all women, all ages, and you didn't have to be a member of the church to be a member of the Dorcas Club. And for me, that was a way of bringing in women of all labels, anywhere, to come together to craft. And crafting is a gift, if you like. And I think it was something that could be shared with whoever. But the thing was, the gifts, the things that were made would also be shared amongst the community, whether it was something for a soup kitchen, whether it was a woman that had just had a baby, she would get a baby basket, or whether it was somebody that was ill at home, they would get a basket to help them to be able to eat. I don't know what you want to add to that, Margaret.
Okay, I think you said most of it, Rose. Really, it was the thing is we had it in homes as well as in church. If we didn't have a church building, say we were having our services in school halls, then it would be held in somebody's home. And I can remember us having it at the Powell's home in Lansdowne Road here in Birmingham. And as you said, it was a weekly meeting. And it was fun for us as young people, going to it. We were able to interact very nicely with the older, the older sisters. I think the highlight for me, like during the Dorcas Club, was the break time when we would have a variety of tea, chocolate, Horlicks, especially in the winter times. And we wouldn't be short of goodies such as patties, bun and cheese, torta, sweet potato pudding, and all of those things would be held there, during that time. So it was fun time. It gave us a sense of belonging as well as young people, and that we could be a part of, of the Dorcas Club. So I basically think you have said most of it. It was a very good way of raising money for mission, as well as Maureen mentioned earlier, her uniform for Gleaner Band was sewn in the Dorcas Club. So it was really women exhibiting their talents and their crafts. So it was a wonderful time, to be enjoyed by all. And it wasn't, even though it was meant to be, it was run by women, but it wasn't exclusively for women, because we had our brothers coming, because they would be the ones opening up for us. And in the day, we used to call the men the bodyguards. So they would open up for us. There would be some kind of security for us, and also they would close up. So it was all inclusive. It was a wonderful idea.
Yeah, it's so amazing to hear. Oh, sorry, go on.
And I would also say it was also the space where you could exchange skills and pass on knowledge, and which is a really important part of passing knowledge on from one generation to another generation. And it's this way that you could, if you didn't know how to do something, somebody would be able to show you how to do it. So this notion of how we would pass on our culture and our crafts from one person to another, which I think is a really important way of keeping that craft alive, or keeping that culture alive.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's really good to have a space where you can use the gifts and talents that God has given you, because even as you said, Sister Rose, that not everyone is an amazing singer or an amazing preacher, but to know that you have that space where you're able to do some craft, but not just do craft, to also speak to one another, see how your week was. For me, that's really interesting. So, Sister Maureen and both Teresa spoke about who Dorcas was, and I want to ask you, Sister Rose, why was Dorcas seen as a role model? We have so many different women in the Bible. Why was it not the Mary Club? Or do you understand? Why was it Dorcas who was chosen for this club to be named after?
She took up the mantle of taking in the destitute and the poor, but also she is seen as one of the first female disciples. So what you have to look at is the fact that she was seen as such a example to people around her, took in the destitute. She showed people how to make cloth, not only how to make cloth, but to make clothes, because it would take them out of poverty and she was so revered as a woman for her empathy towards others. When she died, people mourned, they cried. And you know what they did? They ran after Peter. They ran after him with such vigor. Said, "You've got to come back and raise this woman from the dead. You can't let her just dash herself. You've got to raise her up. You've got to bring her back. She has done such great work." And such was their love for her. When Peter came, he came and he raised her from the dead. And she went on to be one of the foremost female disciples, spreading the word, and she still carried on. And if you look historically at Dorcas as a woman, historically, she is the most decorated woman in stained glass windows in any church after Mary. And under her name are charity, empathy. Those are the words that follow her. This woman has the name charity after her name and empathy after her name. And in in the 17th century, 16th, 17th century, this was the woman that everybody was told that women should model themselves after, for her empathy towards others, for her charity towards others. She is seen as the model woman that we should be looking at, because she looked at the destitute and the poor, and she said, I can help you, I can help raise you out of poverty by giving you a craft and a skill that will help you to put food on your table.
That's amazing to know that gifts, talents, and craft can have such an impact on just that one lady, the impact that she must have had on so many people just by using your gifts and talents. Yes, Sister Margaret, I see your hand.
Yeah, I read something even about Dorcas, that even pins are named after her. There are Dorcas pins that are named after her, because of how famous this lady has been. And I think growing up in church, we saw it from the biblical point of view, as Rose has explained. I mean, when she died, it was such a devastation for the people. But they've taken it on board, even in the secular world, to recognize the skills that she had, and also how she used her talent, to advance others. And that's the ethos of Dorcas Club even today, that it's not just a matter of raising funds for mission, but it's really meeting the needs of the people. So she was a very important woman in the Bible.
As I said, I'm still in shock to know that if we as people, we just use our gifts and our talents, the impact that we can have, not on just people in our local churches, but people in our local community, the UK as a whole, not even the UK, the world.
Yeah, and I think what we have to recognise is that this woman Dorcas is not only in our church, in churches all over the world, in denominations all over the world. They took on this woman as a mantle to show that this gift of the cloth, this gift of crafting, this gift of dressmaking, sewing, whatever this gift was, you as a woman can use this gift to change the world around you. And we have to recognise that whatever your gift is, whatever your talent is. Do you remember that song we used to sing, Margaret, when we were one talent have I?
One talent have I. Yeah.
While others are blessed. Yeah. There was a song that we used to have to sing when we were little. This notion of having one talent, whatever that talent is, you can use it to the glory of God. And this woman, in Spain, they call Dorcas Las Dorcas. So there's the Spanish word for Las Dorcas. So whichever denomination you are, whichever church you are, there are Dorcas women all over the world, and they do that because she's seen as, she's so revered as a woman of the cloth and what cloth can do. The power, Margaret and I've talked about the power of cloth, and we underestimate the power of making, the power of craft, the power of it to change people's lives, the power of it to be used as a tool to actually say things about how we are or how we can be. Everything we wear is made from cloth. Yeah? Everything you've got on your back, somebody made that. Somebody actually sewed that. Somebody made that. And we keep talking about this notion of what can we do with cloth. There's so much we can do with cloth. We can bring people together with cloth. We can we can put banners together that actually protest against things that we think are hurting us as people or as the planet. There are so many things we can do with cloth. We can sell things that actually help people to get them out of poverty. We can give them skills that actually say, I can feed you now. I can feed my children. I can feed myself. There is so much we can do with cloth. We can help people that have support each other through even coming together to just sit and sew and talk and unpack what it is that we are feeling about stuff that's going on around us every day.
Yeah, definitely. Teresa, I saw your hand, so I'm going to let you speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. I feel like what I've taken from what Sister Rose and Sister Margaret has said about Dorcas is that we should use our gifts and talents to the best of our ability and to do good unto others, because Dorcas done this as just a safe space for other women and just help in the way of God, and to see how she impacted so many people's lives just by her death, I feel like that says to me that I should use my gifts and talents to the best of my ability and continue to share my gifts with those around me to help create and add to a safe space where other women can come together and create their own ministry. I feel like the best word to say is that it creates a ministry where you can all come and share your talent and still get to know God.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, you've hit the nail on there. With what you said. Varisha, we haven't heard anything from you, so I want to direct a question at you, and that is, how did Dorcas Club impact your life?
First of all, I think I want to say I'm kind of just sitting here as a student now, just taking in all of this wonderful information we're hearing about Dorcas. It's really been interesting to hear already, just like the power of that mentality, just to use your gifts and talents and just to use what's in your hand and just kind of just do it with heart and do it for the glory of God. It's really amazing. So thank you, ladies, for what you've said. How's the Dorcas Club impacted me? I wasn't around, I guess, during the full swing and the heyday of Dorcas Club, but I think my experience of it was when my grandma came to Milton Keynes, and she kind of tried to resurface it. So I kind of knew it as craft club, and as you ladies have said already, it was just like a really good opportunity for the women in the church to kind of get to know each other and to do some craft activities. I think at the time it was mainly the older ladies in the church, or yeah, mainly the older ladies, or like say the middle aged. I don't want to um to say out anyone's ages, yeah, but it wasn't quite taken up by the younger people. I think because I had an interest in textiles and I was studying textiles, I kind of used it as an opportunity, I think, to do some of my projects and things like that. But I think with spaces like that, I have always been really grateful for that opportunity to sit around people that are older than me, to hear the stories, get to know them, because you realize that they're really cool people and they have some real pearls of wisdom to share. So that was something that I really appreciated from Dorcas Club, and just kind of like the relaxed atmosphere, just to do something with hands to do that sort of like nice activity together. So that's kind of how it impacted me.
Oh, okay, that's amazing to hear. You spoke about hearing the stories of the elders. I know you were struggling to find the word, so let's just use that word for tonight. And Sister Rose and Sister Margaret, you also gave some context about what Dorcas Club is and who Dorcas was. But what was the personal impact that the club had for you, starting with you, Sister Rose?
Oh, with me, I would say the personal impact was one of the first things that led me into this research was a piece of embroidery that my grandma, Miss Moss from St. Catherine, Jamaica, and my auntie, the late Miss Estelle from St. Catherine in Bellersgate, Jamaica, gave me. It was a piece that they made for me and presented me as a wedding present when I got married. And I wanted to trace back. So my grandma and my auntie were both members of a Dorcas Club. It was me trying to understand, how did Black women learn to make textiles of such intricate embroidery, but also trying to understand where does our craft past come from, and where does our crafting future lie? And then talking with both my mum, the late Sister Hamilton, and also my mother-in-law, the late Sister Sinclair, and hearing their stories, what then came back to me was that in the church we have a crafting tradition, and with many of our women coming from Jamaica, having on their passports professional dressmaker, professional seamstress, they played a seminal part in their life, because they would make the clothes for people's uniforms. They would make the like as Maureen said, her gleaner outfit. These women knew how to starch crochet, and there are recipes. They would be telling me recipes for starching crochet, that, and all of this that knowledge that they have gets lost. And for me, it's really important that our history, our crafting history, is kept alive. It's kept alive for the next generation. So the impact of the Dorcas Club for me is being able to keep my identity as a Black woman who crafts, and knowing where that crafting history comes from. And when you look around the front room, if your grandma still has that front room with all the crochet in and everything, and all those lovely things, all the pictures of the front room as we remember it. I think we had an example at the National Convention. All those things that the women made in those front rooms, you're now starting to see them being put into museums, or people doing installations, and they're saying, "Oh, do you remember this history?" But do people remember making them? That knowledge gets lost, and once that knowledge is lost, we lose something. And I believe that crafting helps us to keep our heritage and to keep our knowledge in our spaces. And so for me, the impact of Dorcas Club, it enabled me to go to university to do the textiles that I loved. It enabled me to keep a craft, love of craft. It enabled me to write about it. And it enables me to keep telling the story of craft. And I just love that it's given me the ability to do that, and not be ashamed of the fact that I it grew out of this love of craft at church.
Definitely. And I think when you speak about the things that these ladies made going into museums, it just shows that what these ladies were making, they weren't like, how do you say, they weren't like, oh, beginner stuff. This was like expert stuff that they were making. And what's even more incredible is that people go to school to learn these stuff, and these ladies were just doing it without going to school, without their education. I mean, I remember when I did DT, I don't take it anymore, but when we were in year 7 and 8, we had to do all the subjects to get a feel of what we wanted to do for our GCSEs. And when we had to do stuff like textiles and using a sewing machine, you guys don't want to see what I was doing in that room, but let's just look at it up standard. So they had to think that ladies were just sitting down and doing this stuff without even having that teacher supervising them to say, you got to do it like this, you got to do it like this. And then those stuff going into museums is amazing. Sister Margaret, don't think I forgot about you. I want to hear what your personal impact of the Dorcas Club was for you.
Okay, Zara. The thing is, it's Dorcas Club impacted my whole life, to be quite honest, because as a teenager, Varouche was struggling to the seniors. The clubs were not just seniors; they were mainly women, but we were also involved. The youths were involved. They didn't exclude us, and in these clubs, I mean, at Farm Street and at Chapel Street, we were included in that, and it was a place for making friends. I just moved from the north to Birmingham, and it was a wonderful way to make friends. I met a lot of friends during that time. It gave you confidence as well, because as you're interacting with older people, you build up your confidence. And I remember that even within the club, that the career that I chose, Rose chose to go into textile, I chose to go into nursing. And that interaction and communicating, those skills that we developed in Dorcas Club kind of were transferable skills that we could transfer them into, I could transfer them into nursing. The mixture of youth, single people, married people, seniors, it really also bridged the generational gap. And it also helped to forge long-term friendship. I've still got friends from Dorcas Club Day. I mean, Rose and I met, nearly 50 years ago. And, we've been in our separate places, but we've come back and we've connected. And when we talk about Dorcas Club and what it the impact that it had, is phenomenal. And because of the kind of positive experience that I've had for Dorcas Club, when Bill and I went to do missionary work in Botswana, in Ghana, but particularly in Botswana, we were able to raise funds for the church. We were able to buy the sponge that was used for making mattresses. We were able to get that at cut price, like single bed, single mattresses. And we were given cloths that we could stitch together and cover them. And that provided for people who were sleeping on the floor. So you imagine in the winter sleeping on a concrete floor. At least we were able to provide mattresses that they could use for that. And it brought people into the church that wouldn't normally come into church. As a result of that experience as well, I was asked by another church denomination to go and give a talk to their ladies, because they weren't doing Dorcas Club. So it was one way of helping other churches to initiate the Dorcas Club. So this is a wonderful club, and the skills that we learn from it is lifelong. I remember going to Botswana, and the curtains were so expensive. I took duvets down, and I couldn't afford to buy curtains in the shops because they didn't have the markets like in Ghana. You had to buy curtains like in stores. And I was able, because of my experience in Dorcas Club and with Bill's experience, to make curtains from my duvet covers. So it teaches you lifelong skills. It's a wonderful, it was a wonderful club and still is. And as Rose mentioned about the embroidery that our sisters do, there's nothing like it. And they're so skillful.
Wow.
Yeah, and you mentioned one thing that I just want to pick out is you talked about the fact that bringing the duvets, that people actually came to the church, and I think it's really important to point out that people don't forget what you do for them. So if you do something like really, really, really kind to someone, it will actually lead them to the church, because they'll be like, wait, that lady, she did something for me, and I remember that she said that she goes to this church. Maybe I should go to that church, because those type of people, they're kind, and those are the type of people that I want to be around. And it really shows that we are the church. We're not the physical building itself. When we go out, we're representing Christ. We're representing the love of Christ. So we need to be careful about the things that we're doing, because people don't forget. If you're mean to that person and horrible, don't let that person stepping foot in the church. But if you're kind, if you find that there's some providing somewhere for them to sleep, they will remember, and it will lead them to Christ.
That's so true. I definitely agree. I think there was something that you said, Sister Rose, and it was about the importance of the crafting knowledge. And I genuinely do believe that if we lose, I feel like we have lost part of that crafting knowledge, and I feel like that makes us lose part of history as well, because I had no idea that there were people that were crafting things and they were put into museums. I had no idea until you just said so. So I do feel like that means a part of history is slowly losing words. And I feel like the Dorcas Club, from what I can see, really did bridge the generational gap. And I do feel like that generational gap is starting to get bigger over time, in my opinion. And I feel like maybe a club like the Dorcas Club could bring us back together, so we all can be able to communicate on the same level and resonate on the same level. So I genuinely do believe that clubs like this really do help bring a bridge to the generational gap. So now we're going to ask you a question, Sister Rose, and this is under the heading of changing times. And what shifted in the 90s, causing a move from a formal organisation of Dorcas Club to a less informal setting?
I think what happened in the 90s, there was a reorganisation in the kind of the church model, if you like, and there were were changes within this thinking that we were done in the home. There was less time to do other things, and so the model of how we were looking at ourselves as women generally, it was we were what's the saying? Time poor, if you like. We didn't have enough time to do Dorcas Club anymore. We didn't have enough time to do to craft anymore. We could go and buy clothes much cheaper than making them. We didn't necessarily want the crochet. What's that IKEA advert? Chucking out the chintz. So in chucking out the chintz, we didn't want the crochet anymore on the sideboards. We were going for the cream wallpaper, and we're getting rid. We wanted to have our spaces nice and neutral. So there was a lot of change, and I think that change meant as well that maybe we didn't think that craft played a part anymore. That maybe it was too old-fashioned, and we needed to move on with the times. And I think doing that, we then lost a generation of women. But what we must recognise is that in places like Jamaica or in the Caribbean, they didn't necessarily follow suit straight away. So it's more and more here in England that we lost that reconnection with craft and what it would mean to lose those connections with each other in that form of that crafting space and coming together as women, and other things took over, and as a result it wasn't seen as cool to craft anymore, or craft together. People would still sew, but they'd sew at home in their own little individual spaces. And I think that then changed the way in which we didn't have those days, Sundays anymore, when WMB took over church in the same way. People didn't have their little stalls anymore. We moved away, we got modern.
Yeah, I think even you spoke about people crafting at home. I remember my mom and I was having this conversation about sewing and stuff like that, and I was shocked when she's saying, "Oh yeah, this person can sew," as in our local church. I was shocked to know, oh, they can actually they can do that, because to me that's not a very normal thing in a way. You wouldn't expect, because I haven't learned it, and necessarily my mom can sew, but not to the level that these ladies that we're talking about can. We're more willing to go to a shop and pay for it when we don't even know that there's people in our church that have that gift that can help us when that dress needs to just be taken in a little bit, or do you know what I mean? There's the people in the church that have that gift, but yet we're so happy to run out and spend money for it. Sister Margaret,
Well, the thing is, Zara, you said that, and also some of the things that we're paying for in the shops, they don't suit us. They don't. When you get somebody make you something to fit you, fitted, there is a big difference. But we're having to, and yes, as you say, there are a lot of people within the church that are very talented, and they're real good dressmakers, but everybody wants to buy in the shops. These days I go in the shops and I come back out with my money because what they're making is not what suits me, what I want. And I'm just hoping that we will start doing it again, because it's important. I think as well in the 90s there was a change because we were becoming more community based. Whereas the Dorcas Club was in the night, we would then come in, we were having day clubs where people were going to work and therefore couldn't be involved in that, because we had the golden ages, that's seniors again, and they did some crafting, basket making, knitting, and so on, and we were inviting the community to come in, and we were putting on lunches and all of this. So there was a big change. But I think, as you say, you remember, and catalogs, we were now buying from catalogs, you know, that you would wear out the coat or the dress, but you were still paying for it because it was taking so long to pay for it. But you know, we were getting things from catalogs, and I remember back in the day going to conventions sometimes, and you would see a row of people in the same thing because you know they got it out of the catalog. So, Verusha might be and Rose might be coming to you to design things, yeah?
Definitely, Risha, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in on the point that Margaret made about us getting loads of clothes from the shops. I think this society has been very trained now for convenience, and going back to something else we were saying about like Dorcas Club, I think that there is like a quality to those hand sewn garments and then there's a level of love and care you can put into cloth. So I think that is something that is really valuable, and I think it's being recognized a little bit more in our society now. But definitely, yeah, there was a drop in that. And
Yeah. And I think if we would think about clothes production now, the big brands that maybe Teresa and I more buy from, like Boohoo, Shein, Temu, a lot of these stuff are child labour. Like these stuff are not even ethical. So we have the gifts in the church, and we rather not have our clothes made by blessed hands. You spoke about the love that can be put into cloth. When we have these kids in China, in all these different countries being forced to make these clothes, there's no love going in those clothes. Those children don't even want to be there. They're being forced to be there to make that. Okay, I see two hands. Sister Rosa, saw your hand first, then Teresa, I'll pass back to you.
We also have to think about the fact that the Dorcas model was also a sustainable model or a make do and mend model. So if we wanted to think about what it is about Dorcas, that it's this notion of enterprise and fellowship and safe space, as Audrey talked about, it was also a make do and mend and a sustainable model. It was teaching us how to take cloth and reuse it. It wasn't about throwing it away. It wasn't about the throwaway culture that we have today. And it was more than a sustainable process. It was a sustaining practice. So and what I mean by that was that it allowed you to carry it on to the next generation or to the next person down the line. So this notion of carrying on a sustainable knowledge, that passing on that knowledge, means that you keep the culture alive, you keep the practice alive. You teach one to teach one. And by teaching the next generation down, you keep that knowledge going, you keep those skills going, and you teach the person the next person down. Actually, you don't need to throw that garment away. We can cut these squares up and we can make a quilt. You give a quilt to somebody, you keep them warm.
Go on, Teresa.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was just going to add up something to what you were saying about buying from Boohoo, Shein and Temu. And me personally, there's clothes where they take so long to come, about 2 weeks just to get them. And by the second wear, they're washed out. And you're thinking, this ain't the thing that I bought last week. Where if only we knew the amount of talent that's within our own church, where people could sew for us in craft and it would last for years. There's like my mom has that she's had for, I can't even tell you, feels like years or dead, but it's not washed out. But everything else that's from Shein and Temu and all those new clothing brands, washed out in the bin, gone. So I do feel like it's important to speak to people, know what their talents are, what their interests are. There are some people in our church who know how to sew, and there are people who would love to know how to sew, me being one of them. But yeah, I feel like it's better we communicate with one another just to find out what our talents really are. It's important.
Yeah, definitely. What you said about the washout, I couldn't agree with that any. Listen, those washout is crazy. So, Sister Margaret, I'm going to direct this to you. So, we're all here on this platform as women, and you spoke about the reason I'm directing this to you, Sister Margaret. You spoke about something before. So, you said that it was a women club, but you said that you had the men to lock up the church and to open the church. And but how, having this as a woman-only club, how did this benefit women? If that makes sense.
The thing is, the men were there. They sometimes would play dominoes and all of that, but it was a safe space. When you think about it, the ethos behind Dorcas Club, and Dorcas in the Bible was a woman, and the idea is women ministering to women. There's nothing more powerful than women ministering to women, and it's important that we have that safe space, because it benefited women in that they could talk about different subjects, women's topics without fear. They could discuss. I mean, domestic abuse. We might be Christians, but all of these things affect us. Domestic abuse, financial problems, all of those, child rearing, issues that would affect women. So it was not exclusively for women, but it was so that women could have that space that they could deal with their issues. Men were having men's club. Even today there are clubs for men that women are not allowed. So it's important that the women had that for themselves, but the benefit of sisterhood, benefit of counseling, a listening ear. The Dorcas Club wasn't just a place where we just did crafts. We talked, we told stories, we listened to each other, so that was quite beneficial. And the good thing is that it provided women there were women that were already skillful. They could sew, they could do all of the things, crochet, embroidery, and all of that. But there were women who also were learning new skills. And it's from even the Dorcas Club that a lot of our women, I know at Farmer Street, where I attended initially, where we developed women that became caterers. They would do your parties, they would do funerals, they would do weddings. And I know that at Farm Street, when it came to doing Kentucky chicken, we took it. You remember, Rose, Sister Green? We took it to another level. Kentucky chicken, Sister Green, was something else. So it also helped women to go into the workplaces, to do catering in industry, in hospital, and different places. So it benefited us. The Bible tells us that we must teach the young women, the older women must teach the young women. That's all a part of passing it on to the generation. And as a young or a newly married, in Dorcas Club, we used to be given the advice of where you could get cheap meat. On a Saturday at Bullring, for example, when you go late in the evening, everything's, people are trying to sell out. So you would get real good food, good meat for a very, very low price. And we, those are tips that we would get from, these ladies. So being a space for women, they used to pass down some tips. And then some of the women were quite mischievous. My mother-in-law, for instance, Bill's mom, was quite mischievous. Yes. And she would, they would on a whole say things, I wonder which of these pretty ladies my son is going to bring home. It was fun. We could interact. There was no subject off limits. They would talk to us, and we developed that good friendship and good atmosphere. So it was their space. They were training the young ladies, and at the same time, they were looking and seeing who was going to be the one that their son was going to be bringing home.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's
But
so funny.
Sister Margaret, when are you gonna drop the Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe? When are you gonna drop that in the chat? Because I've got to taste that. I'm the real judge.
No, it's not my recipe. It wasn't my recipe. But the thing is, in her teaching us, yeah, we all could do to a point. We learned to. I mean, on a Friday, we used to do a lot of entertaining with the young people, Bill and myself. That's when you get to know your young people and all of that. Before we went to Africa and after we came back, and we didn't necessarily get the top recipe. But you remember shake and bake? I don't know if you remember that, Rose, where you had the breadcrumbs and everything in the bag, and you would shake and bake, and barbecue sauce and all. We were taught a lot. Really, we were taught a lot.
Oh,
Yeah. That's so lovely to hear. And you spoke about people being able to cater for events and stuff like that. And in that way, we can save money. Like, if we come together in our local churches or in our local communities, we can really save money. Like the other day, I saw an Instagram reel, and this lady was saying, you need just 5 friends to survive. You need a friend that can do hair, a friend that can do nails, a friend that can do makeup. And you will get, these things are not necessarily needs, but you can get through life.
no. So true.
So, Sister Margaret.
Actually, Zara, today as I was thinking, I thought about it today, that in the church, we should be self-sufficient to the point that, there are people who does hair in church. There are people who does nails in church. There are people who do dressmaking. I have my own hairdresser, Cheryl Richards. Cheryl is fantastic. She comes into your home and she washes your hair, and she does whatever needs to be done. There are people like that. Faye Miller, for years, has been my dressmaker. I'm giving you a shout out, Faye. And so there are people. So if you were going to the prom, say Zara, instead of going out and buying the most expensive, there are people. There should be people that should be able to make you something really nice and befitting. Somebody to do your nails, somebody to do your hair, all of those things.
Definitely.
And we're not just benefiting ourselves, but the community, and that's one way of bringing people into our churches as well. And there are people who can't afford it, and so like our festival next week, people will come and they will have certain things done on a cheaper rate, because you're trying to meet the needs of the community.
Yeah, definitely. We've had all these benefits I'm hearing right now. I'm not sure why we don't have another club right now. So, Marisha, what's your take on this? Do you think that we should really have like a women's only club? I say only with quotation marks. At this time, what's your opinion on that?
I think, well, first of all, my mind is being so opened to Dorcas Club. It's really not just a craft club like I experienced it to be. So, my mind is being blown by all of the opportunities for it. A women's only club. I think if we even think biblically, it was men that were really anointed to do crafts and things like that. So I don't think we can really exclude men because they have the ability to do all of these things as well. I think it's just whoever is interested and whoever is willing to give it a go. Yeah, I think the more the merrier, everyone.
Definitely. I mean, we could get the garden. I'm just thinking of all the things. If everyone in the church had a job. So we've got the gardener. I could be the cook. I'm fine being the cook. I'm a baker as well, so I could be the baker as well. Then someone to do the hair, someone to do the nails, someone to do the makeup, someone to make the dress. What else do I think I need? Someone if my house gets a little bit messy, I clean that. Just all those things that that if we as a
Everything.
church came together and said, okay, this is your gift, this is your gift, this is your gift, and this is how we can help one another. And at this time, guys, we want to include you as well. I mean, you're hearing us talk, but put your gifts and your talents in the chat, because there are going to be people from your local church that are calling and like, oh, Sister So-and-so, I never knew you could do this. Let me just contact you right now. So make sure you put in your gifts and your talents in the group chat. Over to you, Teresa.
Yes, I completely agree. I love the little shout outs that were being thrown about for the hairdressers and the dressmakers. I love it. Yeah, yeah, it's just lovely. I'm really excited and I'm a little bit sad that I wasn't a part of Dorcas Club. I didn't get none of the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, I'm a little bit sad, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm sure Sister Margaret will make it for me one day. So that being said, now we're going to look into the current times, the present day, and looking into the future. And my question is to you first, Varisha. The arts and crafts industry grew exponentially during COVID. Can you share what you did during COVID?
I think I was in a bit of a unique position in that I had just started contracting for a small business at that time. So because it's a small business, we had to try and keep going as long as possible until like the lockdown came into full swing. So we had like a drop off and pick up system happening. And I think people were kind of just using it as an opportunity to get out their old clothes, things that they had maybe put aside for, I guess, different occasions, to get those mended and to get those, I guess, refreshed. So I was still doing sewing and I was still able to kind of keep up with that. So I didn't quite have the slowdown that some other people had during that period, but I was definitely still keeping with the sewing, and I was quite stunned, I guess, by the amount of people that were kind of sending their party dresses and things like that to get taken in and things. I was thinking, how are you not going to parties right now? But I think they're probably for future occasions, shall we say? Yeah. So I was still sewing in that time. Yeah.
So, Sister Rose and Sister Margaret, do you believe that we as a church are missing a trick?
I would say what we as a church need to do probably now is take up the mantle again of thinking about how can we use craft as an effective tool within our community. We've done it. We did it in the past. It's people are still crafting. They might be crafting at home on their own because they still love to craft. But how can we use it as an effective tool? We are a worldwide organization. We have people in different countries that do amazing crafts. How can we use it as a tool? You younger ones use every single social media platform there is out there. Why haven't we got our own social media platforms which highlight the crafts that can be bought and sold to actually then use for mission, just like we did with craft in our local community Dorcas clubs? There must be a platform that we can be selling the crafts that people make and have a way of being able to sell those crafts to be able to raise money for those vital missions, fields and spaces that we need. Just like the women did back in the day, where their funds were putting roofs on churches, they were clothing the sick, clothing the poor, all of those things. Did you know that the original Dorcas clubs back in the day, they actually formed the first jumble sales? So historically, the late Victorian times, Dorcas clubs in the 1870s forms the first jumble sales because they recognised that people were actually throwing away clothing for the first time because that was the start of mass manufacturing. So we have an opportunity here to really take a historical look at where we are now and say, in this day and age, in this new day and age, What can we do as a 21st century church to support those that craft, to support the new generation that use all this new platform, and think about how we as a church can take forward all the spaces that we have, not just in Europe, not just in America, I'm talking global South, Africa, the whole world, and start to think about who are the people that are crafting and how can we support our craft as an organisation that's worldwide, not just here in the UK, but think about all of our people that craft. Where can we put a platform together that actually allows people to sell their craft and actually promote the craft that we know that we do that is great?
Yeah.
Where do we have a vision? What's our vision?
Yeah, I think for the past, I want to say, couple of months, and maybe for this year as well, I think as a church, as COGOP, a word that's really been coming back. I think even our convocation on our international convocation theme for this year is mission, and I know that our region 4 convocation this year, the theme was definitely mission. And we have, as we spoke about earlier in the session, we spoke about people using their gifts not necessarily because they're singers or preachers. And when we are singers and preachers, as much as those gifts are appreciated, we're only ministering to a selected amount of people that necessarily come to church every week. But if we use our crafts, we can go out, we can go to all those places that you said, using mission and using that love and that passion that we put into the crafts, that love and passion that we put into the papers that we use to make all these crafts, and tell people about Jesus Christ. Sister Margaret, I know that Teresa did direct the question also to you, so I'm going to give you the time to answer the question.
Well, are we missing a trick? Yeah, you asking? I think we are. In that we have the ready skills, they're there, but somehow we're missing a trick in that we're failing to recognize the value and the importance of crafting. You know, it's when you make something with your hands, it is amazing the satisfaction that you get from that. And even meeting together, there is something about that meeting together. I know, as Verusha was talking about during COVID, I mean, COVID came and we were locked in our homes, and we had to really dig deep in ourselves to find something that would help us, our mental, emotional, spiritual health. We thank God for Zoom. I remember that at the end of every service, we had a time that we would just greet one another and see one another. And now COVID is gone. A number of clubs are not operating. We're missing a trick in that we're not meeting together. That meeting together is so important. I mean, from a Christian point of view, the Bible talks about not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together. There's something rich in that. But also not forsaking meeting together, sharing stories, talking about, life and all of that, and using our hands to do something, because it helps our mind, it helps our well-being. And research shows that it's important that we're social beings. It's important that we connect, and in our connection, even if you're just sitting and talking and sharing, it's really very important. There is a sense of pride that goes, as I said, with making something, that feel-good factor. And, I was thinking about it. If you're knitting, you've got to use your eyes and your hands, and you're coordinating them. That's important to keep that eye and hand coordination going. It's important for our brains to keep our cognitive function to develop, and for us to keep the grey matters, keep them going, and for us to do that way. And so arts and craft, if we don't use up what we've got, if we don't use it, we'll lose it. And even people coming together, and sometimes people are ill, chronically sick or something, but they give them things to exercise, even the hands. because we've got to be using our limbs, and we've got to be exercising in order for us to to sustain life. And I think I thought about this today, and it says that cow never know the use of its tail until it loses it, and we don't know the use of something until when we haven't got it. So it's important that a lot of what Rose has said, that we are thinking. I had some craftings and different things from somebody in Zimbabwe this week, and people in Africa, they are recycling. They're making goods out of things that they would normally throw away, because of the value of that is very important, and it's something that we here need to really think about and start doing again. For our mental health, for our spiritual health, emotionally. That's something that we really need to start thinking about and doing. Teresa's wanted to speak.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just looking at my notes I was taking, but something that just stuck out to me is that we take the crafting skills and the gifts that we won't necessarily see up on the rostrum every Sunday. We take them for granted. We don't really embrace them or appreciate them as much. They're very much underrated. And what you said, Sister Margaret, about if we don't use it, we'll lose them. And I definitely agree with that. I feel like in a world where everything is so busy, it's work or college or school, whatever it may be, like it feels like there's no time. But I feel like if we try and make the time to meet up with one another and to build this recycling culture where we recycle rather than throw away something that doesn't fit us anymore or may not look good or may not fit our vibe, then we can try and learn how to embrace the crafting industry a bit more, especially within our churches, and embrace those who are interested in that industry as well. That's just what I wanted to add.
Beautiful.
Well, you could do something even really simply, like if you've got lots of young people in your church, for instance, and you're all interested in fashion, the simple thing you could do is run a swoosh club where everybody brings clothes, stick them on a red, and you exchange them. You don't have to sell them or whatever. Or if you want to raise money, you can actually have a jumble sale. Everybody goes. If you go to church on a Sunday or go to church on an evening, you set up a rail after church and you can just exchange them. So it's not. It's about finding what are the simple things. You want X amount of money to raise for a specific thing. You can start to think, well, what is the simple thing that we can do this month? What is the target we want to reach? What is the thing that we want to do? We don't want to put anything else into landfill. You might have loads of kids that go to school. You might need a school uniform exchange. Think about things that are an easy fix for people to start doing. You might have people that want clothes just simply mended. Do you know dry cleaners will charge you £5 to put a zip in something that's not right, or £5 to put a button on if a button's come off a shirt. It doesn't cost £5 to fix a zip in the trousers, and it doesn't cost £5 to put a button on a shirt. Yeah, so it's thinking about how else can we support people who somebody might know how to put a zip in a pair of trousers or put a button on a shirt for you if you don't know it yourself. Maybe you can support that person, get themselves out of poverty or move themselves up the ladder to become somebody that can do that within your local church. So start to think about how we can use our spaces as different spaces, but to support craft communities. It might be that you want to start a knitting club. It might be that it happens during the daytime. That it will invite others from the local community that don't feel lonely anymore. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be a long time. It could just be an hour, but something else is going on at the same time. So we have to think about ways in which we can engage people to come along. Or it might be that you work with somebody else. You might work with Age Concern. You might work with Mind. You might work with another another third party to actually bring other people into the space, because they might have funding that will help you to do that thing, to actually enable that crafting practice to actually happen.
Yeah, definitely. Just from listening to all the things that we've said today, all the benefits, all the different ways that us as a community that we can help one another. Even this thing about £5 for a zip, I did not know that. So let me try not to break any zips in my lifetime. And if I do, I'll find someone in my local church to fix it. Even things like that where we can help one another. So we really need to say, okay, this is my gift and this is my talent, and what can I do about it? Don't just sit on that gift and that talent. Go on, Marisha.
No, I was just going to add, I guess, to what you were saying and what some of the other ladies have said as well. But I think if you think of Dorcas Club as a philosophy, you can even expand it more out of the just the realms of craft and needlework and things like that. Because you were saying that there was cooking being taught and all sorts of different life skills and all sorts of different valuable things that I think that we really need. And speaking as someone from a younger generation, yeah, we really need all of these gems and these pearls from you all. So if we think about Dorcas Club as a philosophy, then we can really, I think, make a difference in our communities and think about those gaps and those areas that we can fill.
And even not from the sense of it being a craft and using those gifts, but even just that weekly meeting or just meeting with a person. Sometimes I know a lot of us I'm saying a lot of us as if I work, I still go to school, but there's a lot of people that after COVID, they've still remained working at home and they're not necessarily having that face-to-face interaction with people. I know that there's a lot of people at my school that COVID has really impacted the way that they relate to other people. Sister Margaret, you spoke about you were able to speak with the older people and build that confidence, be able to speak to somebody else. I know that sometimes I go out with my friends and let's say that the cashier doesn't give the right amount of change and they're happier to walk out the shop without the correct amount of change because they're too scared to speak than to just be like, excuse me sir, you just didn't give me the right change, or you gave me too much money. Do you know what I mean? They don't have that those skills that are taught. So there's not the gift side, but there's the skills, being a confident communicator, being able to stand up for yourself and stand up on the point. There's so many young people that you oppose their view and they're like, oh, sorry, okay. Like they won't stand for their point. And Dorcas Club, from what I'm hearing, because I haven't experienced it myself, but it was really a club to build up those young ladies, so those young ladies have like those skills, how to be a good wife, all those different things that necessarily you're probably learning counseling. I don't necessarily know because I'm 15, but those things that you learn how to do with the financial struggles that you may go through, getting that advice from someone who's been there and done that, it helps. So that's really what I've learned today. I'm so blown away from hearing all the different facts, all the different things that honestly I wouldn't really sit down in my bed and think about those things. But I'm so happy I was here tonight.
Yeah, I have to say the same. I'm very excited for the future, I must say. I'm very excited to see what we as a church can do to bring back Dorcas Club, but also incorporate and include everybody else as well, from the younger generation to the older generations, and men and women as well. I feel like we as young people can also teach the older generation, as the older generation can also teach. I feel like it's a give and take back, if that's the right. Yeah, it's we both share and also confidence within the young people, because as Zara mentioned, like you say a point and you kind of get shut down and you feel like you have to go back into your shell. I feel like a club like Dorcas Club can really bring your personality, your true personality out, and give you that confidence that you need to know that you are still having fun, you're still being able to express yourself, but in the light of God as well. I think that's very important. There would be a very good balance between sharing the word of God and also sharing your life skills and sharing things that you may not necessarily think about on your day-to-day life. I feel like, yeah, I'm really excited, I must say. So obviously, Zara and I asked you to share some of your comments with us, and there's a comment here from somebody who said that this has taken them back to their young days, growing up with older women in Jamaica, a treasure I try and pass on to her daughter. What a joyous time it was. God bless so many of us with a Dorcas. And there's another comment here I'd like to share, and it says that the church should have every skill to benefit the church and community. I agree with that comment a lot, actually. I do believe that we as a church should be able to have an impact, a good impact on our community as well, because they are also people who may not know about God, but we can also reach them through weekly services, like weekly clubs. Again, the Dorcas Club, other clubs, where we might have, like, what was it you said, Sister Rose? Was it a swoosh shop? I didn't catch that.
A swish is where you swap clothes. Where you can swap items of clothing.
Okay, see, even that's a good example. I feel like people from our community can come in, bring in some clothes and take some away, and also, somebody could say, see you on Sunday, and we see them on Sunday, just the little things like that, I believe. And there's another comment here that says, crafting can be intertwined with lifestyle ministry. Apostle Paul was a tent maker who also preached, teach, and wrote. So you can also share the word of God and also share your life skills. So I completely agree. And just one more, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. What a comment. Yeah. I'm liking these little sayings. I'm taking them down.
You guys have some wisdom, man. Real wisdom in the chat section.
Yeah. You teach somebody to sew. You teach somebody to sew, and you teach them a skill that will help them to put food. It's a skill for life. They will be able to put food on their table. They'll be able to dress their families, be able to dress themselves. They'll be able to work. So it's this thing of, and it crosses all barriers. Then you can actually go out and find work. So we've got to understand that craft. To learn a craft is to learn a skill that enables you to get work in whatever form it is, whether it's a formal factory setting, whether it enables you to start to think about a lifestyle choice, whether it enables you to want to go on to university, whether you want to go to college, whatever it is, it enables you to make choices.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I have enjoyed this session so much. It's really made me think about Dorcas Club in a different light, because we've been having these behind the what would you say, behind the scenes meetings, and I've just been hearing Sister Margaret and Sister Rose talk, and even though we're trying to run through the schedule, they're bursting with things to say, they're bursting to tell us about their experiences, about the facts, and it's so beautiful to see the impact that it really has had on you guys' lives. And I'm sure when we go back and read the chat and just see all the different comments that are there, the amount of people that Dorcas Club has really impacted their life, and it's just amazing to know that one woman in the Bible who's a model for us as a church, then to make it a club and then have an even greater impact, even though she's not even alive when all of this stuff is happening, if you understand what I mean. It's really amazing to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little quick comment. I don't know, like growing up, you've always been hearing, anyway, me anyway, about the Proverbs 31 woman. It's like the woman to look up to, the woman to be, but like Dorcas is the woman we should be paying more attention to.
Go Dorcas, go Dorcas.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I just can't understand how I haven't heard about Dorcas before. She's really impacted so many people,
Yeah.
and I'm excited just from this session. I've learned so much, and I feel like I could tell you her whole life story. I might just annoy everybody with her tomorrow on Sunday morning, testing my
I think
knowledge.
I think the thing to do is she's just listed in these 6 verses in the scripture, but the thing to do is to go and then research why she is such an important woman. And but she's just these few verses, and it's when you start to unpick those few verses that you realize the importance of this woman to us, and the importance that she has placed on the impact she has had on women in the church, but not only just women in the church, women globally. That she was seen as this moral compass. And a thing to note that in Victorian England, at a time when women were not allowed to leave homes unaccompanied without a male person accompanying them, because women were going to do charity work for Dorcas, they could leave their homes to go and do charity work in Dorcas Society clubs. So we have to recognise the power of charity work and the power that using this woman as a moral compass at the time allowed women an emancipated space to go and do this charity work. And the charity work that they did opened doors to look after women that were destitute, women that needed help through pregnancy, women that needed help when they were moving from in rural England into industrial heartlands. It changed the way in which women were helping other women. And then by the time the model of Dorcas Club arrived into the Church of God of Prophecy, it would change the lives of women again. And we have to recognise what it is that this woman, and why she's held in such high esteem, what she did to actually open the doors of not only the doors to women, but also the doors of how craft itself has power. And I would actually, the question I want to pose is, what would be our vision for a 21st century Dorcas Club going forward? What would be our vision of craft and its place for us as women in the church going forward? So I'm just throwing that question out to all of you. And to any of our listeners out there, throw us back your answers. What would be the place of Dorcas in the 21st century church, and the place of craft for us in the 21st century?
For me, I'd have to say that my vision would be to see a more modernized Dorcas Club, maybe under a new name even, where young women, young men, older women can all share their talents with one another. And, like also crafts and arts, those type of talents as well, maybe even musical talents, like teach somebody how to play the instrument. Cooking wise, you might think I'm thinking about my belly a lot, but I'm very passionate about cooking. So cooking classes, things like that. Dominoes, like games, the old games like Ludi, dominoes. What's the one where there's a ball and there's some? Is it jacks on the floor and you chuck the ball to catch them? Those old games that my mom told me
This
about.
very old one.
Yeah. So it's things like that. I feel like it would just be nice, and even tech lessons where young people can teach some other young people, including myself, and maybe even old people, how to use a computer properly and things like that, and just make them aware of the dangers, so many things that could be incorporated and come together, and just also be a safe space, not just for young women, but also for men as well. And they can also feel appreciated, and they can go out and share that with their friends, and then everyone else can come together. And I think within that, that will create that recycling culture that we really need to see within our church, and also bring in people from our community so we're not segregated, if that makes sense. So that's what my vision looks like.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on a lot of the craft stuff that you said, the technology. I mean, young people, we're going so quick with these stuff now. I remember the first time that I saw my sister, I think she was 2, like she was just able to recognize the YouTube button. And for me, I was just like, wait, how do you know that is the button that you need to watch your shows? And we're getting so quick with the different things that we do. And also, I think there's this element of not just having it as a women's only club, but maybe if I had to say, okay, what do I want it to be now? I would say this time when we meet weekly, everyone, not men and female weekly, but like if we almost broke away into these sessions where the younger girls could speak to the older women, and the younger men could speak to the older men to ask them the questions that they want to ask. I mean, I'm blessed to have a mom and a dad who I can ask any questions to, but there are young people who are not blessed, there are young people who are not guided, there are young people who don't know what they're doing, and they just need that advice from someone to be like, no, you can do this. There's many different things. I mean, if the education route didn't exactly work out for them, those are their skills that they can use to then go and make a living out of that. That makes sense. Like if you teach a person how to do an MOT, how to fix a car, they can then become a mechanic and then have a whole business doing a mechanic, even if they didn't pass those GCSEs, even if they didn't pass those A levels. So just a place where we can build on skills, for me, is what I would want Dorcas Club to be now, if that makes sense. Does anyone have anything else they want to add?
Yeah, I'll add. I think, like I said before, if we think of Dorcas Club as a philosophy and we take the kind of like key elements of it, so we've got interpersonal relationships, we've got like quality time there, we've got skills being shared. If we take these different key elements of all of the things that kind of go into or went into a Dorcas Club, then I think that it could be a formula that could be used for different situations. So it's going to look different, I think, or it could look different from wherever you are in the world. It's going to be something that's personal to the needs of your area and the needs of your people. I think if you can take those core things and you can build on that, and then you can allow younger generations to come in and to reimagine it, reimagine the package that is given to them in, reimagine the modes of learning. I think now we're seeing so many people kind of moving towards like AI spaces and more technological things and digital things. But I think that there's that real value on that interpersonal that we've been saying that has been lost in certain respects. So if we can really take hold of that, but not shy away from interacting with like these different digital media and these different things that we would consider modern, then we can combine it to make something that is seen as desirable to people that maybe wouldn't have automatically jumped towards the idea.
Yeah, definitely. Ladies, I have to thank you for today. You've taught me so much. You've given me perspective on a lot of things. I'm sure Teresa's not dealing, so I'm sure she's agreeing with me at this moment. And we've just got to thank you. We have to thank you so much for your time and for really taking to teach us stuff about where we come from, to know that stuff that my probably great grandma did isn't was like museum worthy. To know that, honestly, it makes my heart just like, oh my gosh, you know, like little celebrity moment. Teresa, I'm gonna hand over to you to just wrap up tonight.
Yes, I also had to say a massive thank you. I really have to thank you. I'm excited. I can't express it enough. I really am really excited to be here tonight and to just know who Dorcas was and the Dorcas Club. And, you know, I feel kind of empowered a little bit because I feel like, you know, great grandmother, like her crafting skills was in the museum. I'm walking up with my head held high tomorrow. I'm sorry. But, you know, I just want to thank you for giving me the insight, you know, and yeah, I really appreciate it. And for our viewers, you're probably wondering what happens now after this discussion, but we're not just going to leave it here. We're looking to set up a small group for where we can create like a toolkit for churches to set up their own groups similar to the Dorcas Club, and you know, different activities that are suited for everybody. And you know, if you're interested in doing that, please drop your name and your church in the chat, and we will get back in touch with you about that so we can set up that small cute group and to the next step, look forward, look for things to go into the future, and you know, bring back Dorcas Club under a new name. And yeah,
Definitely,
I'd like to
definitely.
sorry.
We want to invite, don't worry, I want to invite our seniors to share your ideas of what you used to do in your Dorcas Club, like the things you used to make, the songs you used to sing, the friendships that you formed. Sister Margaret, you spoke about some friendships that you formed that are lifelong. And we don't want to exclude you young people. We want you to share your ideas of for a club that we could have. And we also want to hear your ideas of what we could do in these clubs. For those living around the Birmingham area, there's this event called Dorcas Stories from the Front Room. This will be at the Panel Croft Village, Birmingham B19 2XU. So make sure that you do get your diaries out. That's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's a free event. We're talking about saving money. So it's a free event. So if you're living in the Birmingham area like myself, make sure that you're there. I'll just repeat the information again. It's at the Panel Croft Village, B19 2XU, and it's from Monday to Sunday at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the event is free, and it is co-curated by our own Rose Sinclair. So you guys have heard so much about her today, so much about what Dorcas means to her. So please make sure that you're there. And if you do live a good drive, you can come from London. You can, I mean, if you have to take the airplane, why not take the airport to be here? I know that seems a little extreme, but if you want to do it, do it. Marissa, I hand over to you at this moment.
Yes, take the aeroplane. Please. So we have now come to the end of our session, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us tonight and learning more about the Dorcas story and taking a trip down memory lane. And I hope you're still in the comments telling us about your experience with the Dorcas Club, or people that you may know that were a part of Dorcas Club. And I'd just like to say a massive thank you to our panelists, our lovely ladies. I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight and for sharing your personal stories and giving us an insight into your journey and the passion, just seeing the passion you guys had for Dorcas. It's just, I love it. So I just want to say a massive thank you to you. And I'd love to say a massive, massive thank you to Rachel McCoy. You're not seeing her, but she's behind the scenes. She made tonight possible for us with her technical support. Trust me, if it was up to me, you wouldn't be seeing anything tonight. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to you, Rachel, and to your production team as well. And yeah, so please let us know if you enjoyed.
So this is a good night from me. Thank you so much. You guys have been a lovely audience, and I can't wait to hear all of your ideas after we come off this session.
Yeah, and that's a good night from me as well. Can't wait to read your comments and see your stories down below. And with that being said, we're going to have a song, another trip down to memory lane, and it's Press Along Saints, Press Along. So thank you again and good night.
Good night.
We're gonna continue to press. Come on.